Hello, if you are just joining us, we're just getting ready to start the Junior Parent Night presentation. So stay tuned, just hold on. We'll get started here in a little bit, give everybody a chance to get logged in. Hello, if you're just joining us, we're about to get ready for Junior Parent Night presentation. We're glad you've joined us. We'll get started here in just a few minutes. You may want to have something to write with, but yet please know that we will be sharing this presentation, the recording, along with the slides, so that you're able to access these on the junior page on our school's district page. Our hope is that there's a lot of links on here that will help you. So you'll want to come back and check it out on the school's website just to get to the links easily. And again, if you're just joining us, we're going to get started with the Junior Parent Night presentation here in just a couple of minutes. Hi. So we have reached 7 o'clock and I want to respect everyone's time. Welcome. I'm Barb Lehman. I'm one of the counselors at the park. I'm joined by the junior team, Heather Donzilla at Plymouth, Sarah Budziak at Canton, and Mark Hausen at Salem. We are glad that you're joining us tonight. We hope that either you're hearing this live or you will be watching the recording at a later time. But we hope that this gives you a lot of information. This is just the beginning. It is the beginning while we talk about juniors. It really is the road to senior year, to graduation, and their future. We are excited to go along with them and help guide them. And we hope that tonight's presentation can answer a lot of your questions or what you've been concerned about or thinking about for the future. So let's get started. Well, there we go. So we're going to review the timeline for juniors and into the senior year. We're going to provide some tips for you to just be aware of. Let me move provide some tips and resources for students and families. As I said before, this presentation, while the recording will be on the district's website, also the slide presentation, because there's a number of links that you'll be able to see here, and we want to make sure you have access to those at a later time. We want to supply an overview of college application process. Right now, we have about 94% of our students do go into college. It doesn't mean that we don't have students going into military, workforce, and other pathways, but we definitely want to make sure that we're covering all of them. And we'll also learn the process for Parchment, which is our access to sending transcripts and students' records. So what should we be focusing on? This is kind of where we're at right now. We open the window for MyStar tomorrow morning. That is the process that begins that planning and preparation and determining kind of the direction your student's going to go. And we're going to talk about that. So as I said, the window goes live tomorrow. It opens tomorrow morning. The counselors will be sending another email, but it'll be specifically to our individual students. We want to make sure that they have some specifics about what their class is doing. You should have all received by this time an email that talks about course selection for 9th graders, 10th graders, and 11th graders. And then through this process over the next week, we'll be doing final checks with our underclassmen. That includes our juniors. But what's really important is in the next week, juniors are going to decide their courses. And then a week following, we're going to be meeting with our students from March 9th to March 20th. We're going to be having individual meetings with all of our juniors. The appointments are specified and will be scheduled and posted on our counseling Canvas page. It is really important to make sure that the kids attend their assigned time because we are really butting right up to spring break. And we really want to get this information to you sooner than later. And we certainly can meet with students after spring break, but we'd like to make sure we get the majority of our students at their assigned time. So encourage them to check that Canvas webpage. We want to make sure that they know about that. So as we kind of move through, we're going to talk about solidifying a plan. We want to have opportunities for kids to really explore their pathways, where they see themselves heading. And that's kind of that conversation in the junior conference. We're going to talk about What classes are they taking? Does it match what their goals are, where they see themselves after high school? Another great resource we have is our Career Center. So Mrs. Sties is in charge of our Career Center. The actual office space or little meeting room she has is housed at Canton, but she moves between all three buildings, including Starkweather. So she is accessible to all kids. And she sets up any of our visits with career, military, colleges, programs, internships, all kinds of opportunities. And we encourage students to come visit her and to get a little bit more and gain some information. Some things that she does help with is Zello, which is an opportunity to kind of get an idea of where their interest inventory might be. The other is she also sets up the ASVAB test. Now, the ASVAB is a military exam, but it does not mean you're going into the military. It's just an opportunity for students to really get a very good interest inventory result that kind of guides them through their decisions. Yes, it does give that direction towards in a military perspective, and it gives, if a student were to go in the military, what they would do with it, but it also gives some really good information for students regardless. Something that we talk about with the kids as we move to that senior year is the SAT. Now, right after spring break, probably the second week, our juniors will be taking the SAT test at school. It is part of their graduation requirement, along with our ninth graders and 10th graders are taking the P-SAT, which is a great practice for them to get an idea of what's expected, how it works, and get a perspective of their scoring and where they might want to improve. We know still to this day, most colleges really go back and forth with test optional. And I have to say the guiding post that I kind of give to my students is look on the school's website. If you're planning on going to a college, look on that website and find out what their average SAT score is. When you get your SAT score back, you can decide at that time, if my score is higher than their average, then send it. It definitely is a good recommendation, a good opportunity to show yourself off. If you're right at average, then you still could send it. If you're below it, you may decide, I don't think I will this time because my grades have really been good. They really show off the true kind of ability that I've shown. So again, that's a great conversation for a kid to have with their counselor about should they or should they not. And again, just read the information on each school's website if they're test optional or not. And there's always the opportunity. Khan Academy works with College Board, which is the SAT test, and gives some great practice for kids. I encourage kids to kind of get some practice, really kind of know what the timing is like. That's why the PSAT 9 and 10 are really valuable. It gives them an idea of the timing, how to do and sit for an exam. And we know our kids have had practice at it, but we know that the stakes are getting a little higher as they move to this junior year test. We want kids in their junior year also to consider writing a resume. It's really helpful for kids to kind of get some perspective, what they've been involved in, what kind of leadership roles have they had, any volunteer experience they've had. And when they're having a hard time trying to figure that out, it might guide them to say, I really haven't done a lot of volunteer work, or maybe I should join a club or activity, which, mind you, we've probably been telling them since they were in 8th grade coming to the high school. But it's never too late to join a club or activity and get involved. Make a connection, possibly have an opportunity for a leadership role. We also encourage kids to start connecting with some teachers. It can be a teacher in high school. We'd not recommend probably somebody from middle school unless your student has had an ongoing relationship with them. Maybe they go back and help with a project or a program in the middle school where there's continued connection, academic learning, and growth. But we know that kids have had some great teachers from 9th through 11th grade. I encourage them to reach out to that teacher, share their resume with them, and say, hey, would you be able to write a recommendation letter for me next year? It might be for scholarships or it might be for college applications. Not all colleges need it, but it is something just to have as a ready for access to prepared to complete the application. The next is financial need. And this is a really important conversation with parents and students to have, is to talk about what really is out there, what financial support can be had, and learning about the options. There are 3 sites on here that we'd really recommend: Federal Student Aid, the Big Future, which is also a College Board connection, and then how to apply for aid. We will have a financial aid meeting in the fall. We are hoping that is an active one where in which you can actually create your financial aid, your FAFSA account, set that up and get that started to submit. We want students to be able to have access to anything that they are able to gain to help offset the cost of college. And we're hoping still that next year or the year following is your student does have the option to attend a community college for free. That is an important change that has occurred, and we hope that kids are taking advantage of that where it works best for them. So as we talked about Mrs. Sties in our Career Center, Mrs. Sties, again, is the one that sets up all of our visits. She is also one setting up an evening program, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But she has a huge list that she shares out. It's in the communicator that comes out from school the end of the week, and it has a link to her page. It shows you all the schools that will be visiting, what times, where they will be visiting, and we encouraged kids to sign up for it. It's a great opportunity for them to learn a little bit more. While we know it's really advantage for kids that have friends that are currently in college, they're at Michigan State, they're at U of M, Central, Alma. They have ideas already about those schools. And the kids really can share their experiences, but what they're not going to know is what's new. In the 5-year plan, that rep that's coming to our campus is going to know what are those opportunities. What are some opportunities that is maybe a new dorm room, maybe a new program, an academic program that your student doesn't know about. So it's a great time for kids to really hear from their representatives. Our military visits, they're here on campus as well. Many times these visits happen outside of our cafeterias. So kids, even in 9th and 10th grade, are always encouraged still to kind of have conversation, ask questions, and learn a little bit more. We also have some of the trade programs that come in. They might do presentations. And again, that all goes through Mrs. Sties in our Career Center. So the next is when we talk about those colleges. So colleges do require, if they follow an application process, they follow and have essays requirement. The end of the school year on June 1st, we'll be holding it once again, an essay workshop. It's a great time to get an idea of if the kids are following and planning to go to a high level or a highly competitive college that requires essays. It's really important to get some perspective on what does that mean? How do I choose which essays to write? How many do I need to write? And really give some great direction on how to begin those essays. What topics should I talk about? We go over all of that. We offer the class or the essay seminar first, third, and fifth hour. And the registration form will be sent out to all of our juniors probably about the middle of May to have them start scheduling for it. We've never really run out of space for kids, but they do need to pre-register so that we can make sure their attendance is taken care of. So kids should make the decision of which hour works best for them with their classes so that they're able to attend and not have any issues with their coursework. We want kids to continue to research. So we'll talk about that in their junior conference. We're going to ask them some questions. What do you see yourself doing? What do you want to be when you grow up? But we want to have that conversation to spark it if it has not started, and then continue that. We encourage you to have that conversation with them. Have them talk to friends and family of what jobs they do and how did they go through the process of finding their experiences. And as I said before, what we find is this summer might be a great opportunity to add that volunteer. When they create that resume, they may realize, wow, I do need to do some more volunteer hours. This summer is a great opportunity for kids to get a job. It does show leadership. It shows responsibility. It gives them some criteria that really is helpful as they apply for college and programs. There are internships, and many colleges also have programs on campus. We encourage you to look at those. We do post many of those as much as we can. But I would say that almost every college campus has some kind of academic program or camp that kids can attend. Yes, there might be a financial responsibility. Some are a day, some are a week. So it just really kind of depends on what fits best for your student and your family. And as it says, the summer employment is also always good. We do have a job board that I know Mrs. Sties has started working on, and she gets kind of information as we head to the spring to start posting about companies in the area that might be looking to hire students. So to help with the exploration process, as I said, this presentation is going to be available. So we want you to click on the links. As you can see, there are many on this page. Really gives some good insight. And it's something that we want the kids to do, take some time to do so. I don't expect everybody to do this yet tonight. It's not something that has to be done, but we do want it to be something that as you walk this path towards senior year, and as we have these conversations in their junior conference, to start having some ideas and thoughts about where they see themselves going. So it does say in the college column, it talks about College Board, Big Future, the college search. I think it's a really great one. It really gives you an idea of some things that you didn't necessarily think about. So it might tell you about what kind of programs they have, what kind of athletic programs they have, what kind of city or community are they located in. So it really gives you some perspective of what you may not even thought about makes a difference. There's also a couple of other sites that you can always check out, because the more you have an investigation on these colleges and universities, the better off in your decision. There's also the 107 that's also helpful in the academic programs for HBCUs. And there's the Common Black College app. That's a specific application that helps kids get to colleges that may fit where their interests are and specifically to those universities. Campus Pride Index gives information for friendly campus search for information, and then My College Options. So there are a lot of sites that continue to come up, and we'll still continue to share those. As you move to the skilled trades and military, we have those available. Mrs. Sties, again, is the one that's scheduling those. If for some reason there's a program or an interest your son or daughter has and that we have not done something about, I encourage you to reach out to Mrs. Sties. She's more than happy to find, search out, and get somebody in that can talk about that career pathway and meet with your student to give them more information. And as we said, we want to make sure that you're having that conversation about financial. It is definitely a hard conversation at times, but it's something definitely needs to be talked about. You need to kind of give them an idea of where their focus should be. If it's something that they're going to have to work for, is it community college directed, straight into a four-year university because you're fortunate enough to pay for the college? We know that it continues to increase in pay, but we want to make sure those conversations are happening. And again, that you're getting all the support that you financially can get. So we do want to make sure that in that senior year, we'll have a financial aid night and it will have some work time included. So that you're able to kind of get that process started. If anything, at least get your login information started. So the moment the window opens for the FAFSA for federal aid, that you're able to go ahead and log in and get started. And as I said before, a lot of sites for you to look at. We used My Next Move during our 10th grade meeting. So when you're last year, we probably used My Next Move or Zello. We did some career exploration with them to get some ideas of what they saw themselves doing in the future. But again, there's many other resources. And at the very bottom is the link to the Career Center. So if you don't catch it on the school's communicator that comes out at the end of the week and are not signed up for that, I encourage you to connect to the Career Center website. This will get you right to her page and full of information. So that will help guide that process. And that's really where this focus is right now for the juniors. We want to not only focus them about what classes they're going to be taking into their senior year, but we want to make sure those classes are connecting to where their goal is. Is their goal to a college, to military, to trade? And what pathway do they see themselves going? It doesn't need to be specific, but maybe in a general area so that we can kind of guide them in what classes they should take. Most of our seniors have doing a great job. And by the time they're a senior, they really have a lot of option for elective or alternative classes that really push them towards career interests, that really give them kind of that exposure or experience to what they might see in the future. So now that we've kind of moved through senior or juniors choosing classes, they've figured things out. We want to now move to that senior year. But let me back up a second. Before we do, this Thursday, we'll be meeting with the juniors. We'll be making sure that they are prepared and ready for what's coming ahead. So we want to make sure as we meet with our students as we meet with the juniors in the coming weeks, we want to make sure that they're prepared for all the opportunities. And then junior conferences hit, we head to spring break, and then we have opportunity for kids to explore, kind of check out colleges and campuses, look at jobs, and prepare for the senior year. So at a glance, here's where we head. So we want to make sure that we get an idea of where the kids are, and we start with a senior parent night. So at 5 p.m., just before open house in the fall, we encourage all senior parents, and sometimes students also attend, but the senior parents, we want you there. We want you to hear firsthand the specific steps to going through the process of getting them from start to finish in a college application process, or military visits, or connecting with a representative in a trade program. We want to make sure that that's clear for students and for parents specifically. So that is held at Salem High School in the auditorium. Again, it's at 5 p.m. just before open house. And that date will come out as we move to the beginning of the school year. Following that, we meet with our seniors. We have a senior meeting with all of our students. We talk to them again, reviewing for them the college application process, the steps for parchment of how to get their transcript completed, about their test scores. By now, they will have received their SAT. Some will have decided already to retake the SAT and get another score, or even consider the ACT. But at that point, we're talking about these specific steps where they're really ready for those moves forward. The college representatives pretty much all come for a visit in October. So as you start looking for that, we want those students to be in meeting with those representatives. As I said before, they're going to know what's happening in the next 5 years, but they're also going to be the person that more than likely will have connection to your child's application, especially your smaller schools. When a student is applying to a college as the University of Michigan or Michigan State, you have a huge crew of people that are reviewing applications. But when you talk about a school size of like Adrian College, that school, that representative may have their hands on your son or daughter's application. We want to make sure they have an opportunity to talk with them, ask them questions, make that connection. And there may be some specific questions they can answer or talk to them about that what it's going to be like on their campus. So we encourage, again, for kids to visit during the month of October. As we start the senior year, all of our scholarships are listed on our school's website. Now, they're all up there right now. So you can go today or tonight or this coming weekend and see what's available looking ahead. You might have an idea of what scholarships are out there for your son or daughter as a senior. Most of them will repeat themselves. Some of them change the question they may ask or the essay response that they're looking for. But for the most part, it will give you kind of what kind of expectations they have, who can apply to that scholarship. And it will also give your son or daughter an idea to know, do I need a recommendation letter? Do I need to get that resume to a teacher so they can start writing that recommendation letter? So those are some important steps that can actually get started now, but students won't be able to apply until their senior year. I'd say majority of them. 99% of our scholarships are really for in the senior year, but there are a few. Definitely students are more applicable to get a local scholarship, less competitive, to a university or national scholarship. But please don't hesitate. If your child or your son or daughter is qualified, we've had kids earn or win the Coca-Cola Award, got milk. There's a number of ones that they've won national scholarships, which is a substantial amount of money. So we encourage kids, definitely go out for what you're available to, and you should be able to go from there. So we want to make sure that that's accessible to them. And again, that's on our website now, and it will continue to be posted next year as we move to the fall. And the last is to stay informed. We know that on the school's website, there is a junior page, and then you'll move to the senior page. So you want to be able to check on that periodically. You do want to, anytime you can get information. And I would tell you more than anything is make sure your emails are correct in MyStar. Every year we start in the fall, you have the opportunity to make sure that there's a change to an email, a change to a cell phone or phone number. We want to make sure that your information is in MyStar is correct and the most accurate so that you do get all the up-to-date information. That's really helpful when we're trying to communicate, teachers trying to communicate, and especially when the district sends out information that will keep you well informed. So to start, let's talk about the college application process. And as I said, it's a little different from school to school, but all college applications open on August 1st. So if your son or daughter has signed up to get information from Central Michigan University, on August 1st, they'll receive an email that says, welcome, our college application is now available. You are welcome to apply. And so a lot of kids that are ready for it actually can get their applications pretty close to being done even before school starts. And I really recommend it. I think it's really an advantage for them. Their focus can be really on that application. It does not need to be diverted with classwork or getting ready and going to class. We want them to really spend that time, quality time on it. Pretty much all applications are online. You go to their school's website, you fill out their application. And there really are two kinds of applications. One is a common app. So what that means is a company has taken all these colleges have signed up for it, and it's a common application that goes for many colleges. Two perfect examples are Michigan State and University of Michigan. They use what's called the common application. Now, if you want to go to Eastern Michigan University, then you would go to Eastern Michigan University's site and fill out their application. So there really are two kinds of application. An application where you go to common application site and fill it out where it gets sent to many schools, or you go straight to the college and fill out their application. And that is a straight school application. The straight school applications are the ones that probably don't need an essay, probably don't need a recommendation letter, but are still just as valuable and important to fill out and complete if that's where you plan to attend. If you do the common application, each school will identify what essays, how many essays, and how many recommendation letters are needed. We'll go through that step to step of how they do that as well during the senior meetings in the fall. But one thing that's different is the second step, is that parchment request. So all transcripts need to go through Parchment. Parchment is our online site that sends our students transcripts. They are updated every semester. So at the beginning of second semester, all of our senior transcripts were updated. At the beginning of the fall, all of our seniors, your kids, transcripts will be updated and entered into Parchment. And that's where they go to make their requests. Let me jump back to step one. If your student did the common application, then you would want to fill or send your transcript to the common app. So if I signed up for U of M and Michigan State and Alma, all on the common app, I would send my transcript to common app, not to the individual schools. What happens is if we see that, we do tend to either release it or just delete it because the universities don't want the transcript that way. So if a student applies through the Common App, they need to send their transcript to Common App. We'll go over this and actually do it step by step with the kids in the senior meetings as well. If a kid applies to Eastern Michigan University and goes directly to their website, fills out their application, they would send their transcript directly to Eastern. So there's two slightly different steps. And again, it's a process that we want to make sure kids are aware of. So we're telling you tonight, we'll tell them in junior conferences and junior meetings, and we'll remind them of it in senior year. And the last is those SAT scores and ACT scores. As I said before, students really can make the decision, and they want to check the school's website if they're score optional, if it's average is kind of close to where their scores come out, gives them a real good idea. And as it says on here, ACT scores, we have some students that decide to take the ACT as well. They take it on a Saturday when it's available. They go to actstudent.org to sign up, and they figure out if the ACT, they do better on it. Sometimes kids do. It's the wording, it's the timing. So we do want to make sure that kids know they do have an option to take both of them. Through school, all students have to take the SAT as part of graduation. So we do give them a free opportunity to take it at least at one time. But students can always retake either the ACT and or SAT on their own, and they go to the individual websites for those. As I said, letters of recommendation. I'm applying to Eastern Michigan University, no recommendation letter needed. But if I'm applying to the common application where I've submitted or clicked on 4 or 5 schools, I will more than likely need a recommendation letter. One of the most important one is ours, the counselors. So students will have to add their counselor in as a recommender on the Common App. We encourage kids, and we really try to push that students all submit their applications, their top schools, their #1 school by October 31st. We know that while the deadline continues to go and students can apply to colleges after October 31st, we want our students to have the best chance possible. So we want to encourage them to try and get their top school applications done, completed, and submitted by that October 31st deadline. It's our recommendation, and it does fall in with some of the deadlines most colleges have of November 1st. So we do want to encourage and push that, but it also makes a difference to say October 31st, your kids are done with it. Now they can really focus on the senior year, classes, getting involved, and enjoying that senior year. Next. So one of the things we know, it's going to be a transition, and it's not just a transition for your kids. We know it's a transition for you too, especially if it's your first or if it's your last or the one in the middle. It's all a transition for us and changing to them going into their senior year. It really changes perspective sometimes. We have to sit back and kind of think, how do we get here and how do we make sure that it's the best place possible and it's the best path they can follow. So we want to make sure that you discuss with them. There's a great parent action plan we encourage you to look at, gives you some kind of pointers and tips to having the conversations. If you haven't done so already, share your experience, share how you decided and why you are glad that you did. Talk about pros and cons with kids. Talk about what they've liked, what you've seen them like and enjoy, and what matters to them that maybe they're not really remembering some of that or keeping that in mind. we do talk about the fact we want kids to make decisions for themselves and not just what their friends are doing, because we want them to really kind of connect to themselves and what their interests are. So have those ongoing conversations. We are always there to support, guide, and assist them, and we are excited to do junior conferences. I have to say, it's probably one of my favorite parts of my counseling job is that individual conversation about where they see themselves going in the future. What do they like to do? What are they good at? And how it can fit to their career pathway to make it the best as all possible. Now, as I said before, Mrs. Sties, and I've mentioned her quite a few times, she works diligently to get things set up for us. And she has ready for us on Wednesday, March 11th, is going to be a career fair, college and career fair. It is at Canton High School. It's from 6 to 8 o'clock. I encourage you to send your kid, come with them if they so allow you to. Bring your 9th and 10th grader. Anytime kids can learn and prepare, it's great experience for them. So we want to make sure they have that opportunity. But again, it's Wednesday, March 11th. It's from 6 to 8 p.m. at Canton High School. And it's a college and career fair where they can learn more, talk to representatives, and find out what programs are out there for them. The next, as I said before, was that college essay writing workshop. When I talk about that common application, kids will need to write essays. It may be 2, it may be 3, but we want to make sure they really have some preparation and guidance with it. That workshop is held with myself, Mr. Forsland, who's a great fan of college data and statistics and entrance and all of that. And more importantly, with Mr. Blakesley. He is one of the Canton English teachers and a great advocate for the essay writing, really works very hard and diligently and really is there to support all kids, whether they are students of his currently, have been students, or will never be his student. He wants to help kids do the best essay or write the best essay possible and is there to support them. So again, we'll open that up or send it out to our juniors probably mid-May. So please encourage your kids to watch for that sign up. But as I said before, we've never really run out of space. It really just comes down to we want to make sure they sign up on time before the deadline so that they get their attendance taken care of. And again, we are open or holding it hours 1st, 3rd, and 5th. So hopefully that works in your kid's schedule. One important thing is we talk about that senior year getting ready is the yearbook photo requirement. So this is really an important step. We want to make sure that all of our kids are seen and have the opportunity to be part of this. Here is some great information about the requirements to get into the yearbook, how that is kind of handled. Students typically have had their photo ID taken at the beginning of school at scheduled pickup. And that's what their yearbook photo has been. But for seniors, it is different. You'll automatically appear in the yearbook if you do a composite photograph by focal point. It is the school program that we work with or a company that they work with. And again, you can get an appointment. The information is right here on the screen. And if you use a different photographer, where there's many out there nowadays, they're doing amazing things. It just gives you the directions on how to submit your senior's photo and make sure that it's included in the senior yearbook. And again, as I talked about, this presentation is going to be on the webpage for the junior class. And we want to make sure that there's more info. Click the link there at the bottom of the screen you see. Come back to that. Make sure that you get and follow the deadlines. That's probably one of the most important part is these deadlines. As you note the early deadline of November 1st. So it looks like we need to have senior photos done and college applications done by November 1st. And then we've got the senior year all tied up and ready to go. So make sure you come back to this and refer again to the information that's shared so that your senior is included in the yearbook. So as we've said, staying informed is really valuable and important. All of our students have access to our counseling Canvas pages. We include and continue to update information on there. We also send out notification if your student is signed up. Majority, if not all of our students are in our counseling Canvas page. They were sent an invite when they started as a freshman. If your son or daughter does not know if they are, they should be able to pull up Canvas and see it as one of their screens. If not, they can stop by the counseling office, and the secretary there can make sure the kids get joined and are part of that process. And again, that junior page is really important. That's access for all parents and students to look at, and then know you'll transfer into the senior year page as well. All right, so we kind of hit the end here. I want to encourage that if you have any questions, some of you may have already shared those questions. I'm going to stop sharing mine and give access to where we might be with questions from the group. Hopefully that I've been able to answer a lot of your questions. I'm appreciative of the 3 other counselors that have joined us, but I know that of the 18 counselors we have on staff, they do a phenomenal job working with our students. We are excited for those junior conferences to get going. And again, we want kids right now, as the window opens tomorrow, choose their classes, prepare for those classes, and know that in their junior conference that they're going to watch for, that schedule is posted on Canvas. Come into that meeting. We're going to look at their schedule, see what they've chosen for next year's senior classes, make sure it meets graduation requirements, and also that it's meeting their goals. The counselors have also, majority of them have uploaded onto student documents the graduation audit. So you should be able to go online tonight, if not within the next day or two, to see their graduation audit. That will help them kind of know, do they need a full credit of English, full credit of math? Do they still need civics? Are they missing an art class? So that's available for them as well. The meeting for the kids, the first question I have is, why is the meeting with the counselor is planned for after course selection? Well, the reason being is because it's not just our juniors that are choosing. We have both our 9th graders and 10th graders are also doing it. And we actually Thursday night have our 8th graders. So we have everybody does course selection pretty much around the same time, but we know that we are available for questions. So kids do have access. And for us to meet with our juniors prior to, we kind of are in the beginning of second semester, and we know how important it is for them to actually be in the classes. Many of our juniors do switch hours or do switch classes, and we don't want them to necessarily miss too much of coursework as it's starting the semester. So it works for us to be able to meet with them. We can make changes if for some reason we sit down with them and they didn't check the graduation audit that we put on student documents and that they do need a half credit of art. In that meeting, we can go in on our side as the counselor, go in and change their schedule, their course selection to include that graduation requirement. So we are making sure that they do have it. But as you saw if you have not seen the email about course selection, I encourage you to read through it. We have 3 lunch times, 3 days of lunchtime where counselors will be available in all 3 buildings. So if your junior really does have some pending questions, they definitely can search out their counselor at lunchtime for a quick question and be able to answer that. But I will tell you that the presentation and information we're sharing tomorrow with them that they will be working on during homeroom really will answer a lot of their questions as well. The next one is how many letters of recommendation they need. So on the common application, the counselor is a requirement. So we are an automatic requirement because the transcript is connected to our portion. So when we meet with the seniors in the fall, we will say to them, you need to put us as a recommender. Then I would tell you that 2 recommendation letters, no more than that. It could be different for a scholarship, but highly unlikely to go more than 2. And many times it's only 1. I encourage kids to think about their career pathway. If they see themselves going into a field in science, look at a science teacher. If they see themselves kind of not sure where they're going, an English teacher would be great. Something in the social sciences, a history teacher, any level. From world history, U.S. history, or currently the civics and econ. So they definitely have a range of teachers, but their academics are really their big one. I would definitely have an academic teacher as my first choice, and then maybe an elective teacher if they don't have another academic. Elective teachers might have an opportunity where they've seen teamwork, leadership, working together, supportive environment. So a very different kind of setup in a classroom rather than an academic. So maybe having one of each is good, but definitely I would say shoot for 2. It does say, will juniors be able to have their College Board SAT sign-in ticket before spring break, the one they received during the student readiness check-in in order to gain access to College Board study materials? I don't know if they'll have access to the College Board study materials, but I would tell you that Khan Academy has a great amount of them available for students to go through, and those are free. That information would come out from the administrators that are in charge of College Board or the SAT testing. And I will make a note of that, or at least to connect with them this week to see when that information is going to come out so that that can be something shared with parents. I am sure that emails and information will be coming and forthcoming out to parents and students to know testing and timelines and when those are all going to occur. Are they going to be able to take and reschedule the ASVAB for this year? I know that Mrs. Stiles was working on a date. She is trying to get that scheduled. She will make sure that that is part of the Career Center communicator, and that is always linked in the communicator that is sent out at the end of the week. So I would follow back up or at least check on the Career Center webpage that is shared in this presentation that can get you to those dates and times. The next question is, please share the link for College Board Big Future, College Search, or will this presentation be available with links? This is available with links, but you can actually go on to Big Future. Search Big Future. If your student has a College Board account, they'll ask you to log in. Once you're logged in, then you can do the searching. The nice thing about the Big Future is that you can put in what you're looking for. You can start by a career pathway. You can start by the size or the area, the community that it's located. You could include athletics. You could include Greek life. You could include all the above or only a couple of them, dorm life. But it definitely gives you a lot of great information. It also, what's nice is gives you a location. You could say the Midwest, you could say East Coast, West Coast, and so forth, or you could say just in Michigan or within a mile radius. And it's nice that gives you that perspective that there are some schools you may not realize that are still out there, or ones that you didn't hear anything about because maybe their program is not quite as big as you expected. But the further research you do, realize that it really might be a great place for your son or daughter to attend. If they've done AP Lang junior year, do they need another English course for senior year? Students need 4 credits of English. So it's a great question. We do have a number of our juniors that took AP Lang as a junior English course, but they would still most likely need a senior year English course, full credit. There are a handful of kids that I have that in remembering of doing their graduation audits, and I'm sure many other counselors have the same situation, where kids may have taken an extra English along the way in their freshman, sophomore, junior year. But I would still probably encourage kids to consider taking a full year of English senior year. My kind of guide is to say 3 to 4 core. Most colleges and universities will say that they would like to see in their senior year 3 to 4 core academic courses, specifically maybe directed towards a career pathway or even at least exploring in a career pathway. So it definitely gives them a direction. I do want to make sure that kids are considering that as they look. And again, that's a conversation we have with the kids in their junior conference, is to say, hey, I see you have two academic courses and you're planning to go to this college. I would consider maybe adding in a social science or an additional science or a math course, just to make sure that they're really still increasing their academic rigor. Colleges and universities will see what they are taking senior year. When they get accepted, the email that they receive says they have been accepted on the understanding that they will maintain the same academic showmanship that they have shown so far. So at the end of a senior year, they will send their final transcript to their university to assure what they signed up for when they were accepted and how they did academically. So sometimes kids think, and I want to make sure parents know, that those senior classes are made aware to the college and university when they apply, and their grades are sent to them at the end of the senior year. So that's an important process in that. So it's very possible, as go back to that AP Lang question, that your student does need another year of English their senior year, and it can be a mix of all kinds of classes. I really encourage them to talk with their AP Lang teacher, or any student talk with their specific academic teacher. On Thursday is when we have the students set to talk to their teachers about curriculum and get some recommendation of where they should go from AP Lang, what should they take next. The next question, does the senior photo have to be a head and shoulder shot for the yearbook? Any other specific requirements for the photo? I don't know the specifications. I would definitely go back to the link there. That link had the click here for more information. I would check that to make sure. Yes, I do believe it is a headshot of them, but any specifications specifically of color, of how it's formatted, any of that I'm not aware of. But we want to make sure that you have this information way ahead of time so there's no issue in, as many parents start to schedule that not only spring break, but right as soon as school gets done. We wanted to make sure, and so did the yearbook staff, wanted to make sure you have access to that information right away. So this presentation, again, is going to be shared on the website, on the junior class webpage. And please go back, check the links, spend some time and kind of click through it as well. The next question is for dual enrollment. They need to choose courses for fall and spring or just fall. So students that are interested in doing or having dual enrollment courses next year, dual enrollment is taking classes at a college where they are dual enrolled. They are enrolled at the high school and they are enrolled at a college. Students can take classes at any college. Majority will take them at one of our community colleges. Schoolcraft, Washtenaw, Henry Ford has come up a few times, but students have the option to take a class at a community college or a college in the area to replace a class at the park. So they are dual enrolled at both locations. That application will come available. It is currently not available right now for the fall, but that application will be available in tomorrow's presentation to kids about course selection. It talks about dual enrollment. And again, it has a link to tell you the dates and the step-by-step process and checklist for how to go through that. Students are always encouraged to meet back with their counselor. But to begin the process, I will tell you, all students must choose 6 credits at the park. If they choose to do dual enrollment, that will be after that. What means is students will choose 6 classes. So I've decided as a student, I'm going to take drawing and sketching, but really I'd like to take dual enrollment. Great. When you get the dual enrollment form that says what you're going to take, you're going to tell me, I'm going to take child psychology and I want to drop. That's where I'm going to drop or the drawing and sketching class. So again, students this week need to choose classes at the park, 6 credits with alternates. Then when the dual enrollment window opens, and that will be an option for us to replace one of those courses. But for now, kids must choose all at the park, and then we'll go ahead and go from there. What is the email address we send outside yearbook photos to if we use an outside photographer? Let me, if I can go back, I can tell that to you now. But again, this presentation is going to be available and you'll be able to go back and click on it and see the presentation wise. So let me get out of this one. Okay. Let's see, this is my Justin's here. So here's the presentation. And it's P-CEP yearbook at pccsk12.com. So that's where they would be locating that too. Sorry about that. Yeah, so they do have the option to go ahead and do that. That will be an opportunity for kids to send that to them and make sure that they have that. This is an access to our counseling page that also has a great deal of information. So we want to make sure that that's also an opportunity for kids to realize that there's information out there on the school, on our school's website too. All right, so I think right now we may have one more question. Can you repeat where we can find the graduation audit? Yeah, the graduation audit is on MyStar. It is under student documents and it should show graduation audit. That gives you access to know what credits they have taken, what they are currently in progress of taking, and what they'll be working on or need to include for next year. And as I said before, I know I had a handful of kids that only needed a half credit of English, but I do recommend that that's where they find that balance. They try to figure out what are the 3 to 4 core that they should be taking to create that balance for them in preparation for their next phase or where they see themselves going in the future. The next question does have, what does PC mean when looking at classes needed on the graduation audit? So somebody may have put personal curriculum. It may be an opportunity for a student when they have their junior conference to talk with their counselor about a personal curriculum where in which they have exceeded the graduation requirements. And what it means is they have taken more math, more English, more science, kind of excelling in those areas, so much so that they've not had room during high school to take some of the other requirements, such as personal fitness or health, and maybe even art classes. And so that may give them the opportunity to do that and take, have a personal curriculum. That's a conversation that your counselor will have with your child at their junior conference. I know that any of my students that did or look to qualify, one thing I'm waiting for is to know what they choose for senior year. It does make a difference because there are classes that would not qualify, and we want to make sure that they do qualify for that opportunity, or at least go over and how we're going to meet those graduation requirements. Is the new Understanding AI class an English class? And if so, would it count as an extra English class requiring one less English class in senior year? Yes, it does have that opportunity to count for an English requirement. So it does have that opportunity, but I do want to just put some caution of it's a great course. So if a student is taking it, it would be noted on their graduation audit. And that's a perfect example why a kid might show they only need a half credit for English in their senior year. If the kids will get a recommendation from their teacher for an academic standpoint, would it be beneficial for them to get another one from their extracurricular activities like their sports coach? Oh, absolutely. I would just recommend there at least one of them be from an academic teacher and the other be from someone, another adult, where a coach, an extracurricular activity, a club, it could be from a job, it could be from employment, maybe their boss. So anyone that shows a kind of a different facet of them, who they are, in a different perspective would definitely be a good recommendation for sure. It definitely, every kid is slightly different, and depending, as we're talking about it, most of it's going to be used for college applications. If they use it for scholarships, the scholarship may request a certain kind of recommendation or a recommendation letter that shows something specifically. If a student is graduating early, does 6 credits apply to them when submitting course selections? Many colleges ask for an unweighted GPA. Can it be made available in MyStar, please? Well, let me answer the first question. So we have very few kids that do graduate early. For a student to be able to be eligible to graduate early, they have to have earned 19 credits before the fall of their senior year and have less than 6 classes or 3 credits of requirements. So a kid could not need a full credit of English, a full credit of math, a full credit of art, and health still. That'd be 3.5 credits. That would not be eligible for early grad. But if a student has kind of followed the timeline that we've established since they were in 8th grade and beginning this process, they would more than likely just have English and math. Yes, a student can graduate. They do need to, however, pick 6 credits for a full year. Until they meet with their counselor in their junior year is where that discussion goes, because it won't be just about the 19 credits. It'll be the purpose and the reasoning why the early grad. It is an application and it has to be approved by their building principal. So it is an important task or step. And once it is approved, then we can go back in and make sure that the classes they need and or want are in first semester. And then we change second semester to note early grad throughout the entire day. But yes, to start the selection process or course selection, they do need to fill out for 6 credits if they want to graduate early. And then in their junior conference, that would be a conversation to have with their counselor to get the application to apply as to why they're going to graduate early, the purpose of it, the benefits of it, and so forth. And then after that, we would make sure that they have the 6 classes or 3 credits they want in first semester so they are ready to leave. The second question on here is a nice one. I'm sorry, but there is not a way for us to do it on MyStar because MyStar is equipped programmed, at least from my knowledge of programming. They've not been able to do it. It is something easier to do. We do have a worksheet on our Counseling Canvas page that explains what the steps are to figure out an unweighted GPA. We do that. We do answer a question on the Common App as a counselor. One part of our question is this GPA a weighted GPA or an unweighted GPA? And I would tell you that it's simple to know a student's GPA is weighted if they've ever taken an IB course or AP course. And I should say the high level IB course. But if they have taken one of those advanced courses that gave them an honor point in their GPA is considered weighted. Kids that have never taken an AP course or an IB high level, their GPA is unweighted. There's never been an honor point given to them. So they would be fine. But again, there is a worksheet that's in our Counseling Canvas page that kids can access and be able to see and figure out their GPA. Does the Engineering STEM Academy count as a core class? It does not. The STEM classes and any of our academy classes are electives. While they have a connection where the STEM classes do have math in application. Some have science in application. They are, however, a academic or an elective course. But for a student that has been in an academy or a student that has shown continual interest in an area or field of study, like an academy, or even continuing in engineering, even not being in an academy, is showing something to a university that if the student has dedicated 3-4 years of taking a course in this direction and wants to go into that career pathway, the university definitely takes that as a good thing, a positive, because they know that more than likely that kid really understands that career pathway and is still interested and will join that college and graduate with that degree from that college. So it's, even though it's not a core class, it is recognized as a good and a positive thing, showing commitment and dedication. Next question. If a student is going to a community college, do a lot of these steps change versus to regular four-year college? Students still have to apply to college. So if a kid wants to go to a community college, they still do need to fill out an application. It is a much simpler, quicker application, I would tell you. It's nice because it does give them quick access. We tell the kids that once they've applied and do get an email back, they've been accepted, I'd encourage them to meet with a college advisor. Talk to them at that college about what their plan is. A community college goal is to get them there to do 1-2 years and then possibly transfer. So they will really guide you specifically. If you see yourself doing an associate's program 2 years, they'll lay it out for you. They'll give you really kind of an understanding of when you should take certain classes. They can also guide you if maybe the second semester you do dual enrollment and take a class to kind of get ahead of the game. But we want to make sure that as soon as students apply to even a community college, definitely go ahead and make an appointment with the advisor. That's a great opportunity. And especially if you see yourself transferring, start at the community college and take advantage of those 2 years for free, then be able to transfer to a university such as Western, and knowing exactly what will transfer to Western and kind of move me ahead in that career pathway is always a great opportunity. But again, that community college application is a much simpler one, which is nice. It gets you through the application, gets you accepted, and gets that next step going. It's an exciting pathway for kids. Do you go over at some point the bill that helps pay for community college that kids can use? We do a little bit in the senior meetings, but in all honesty, that really falls to the community college. Once the students get accepted to the community college, they will go through that Michigan grant. They will talk about that and the process through it. It does. One question that we've had is we're hoping to share a little bit more through dual enrollment of how that will help them and support them. But again, that is something that is automatic right now. We don't know how that will change in the coming years, but we do want to make sure that kids are informed of it. We do also have people from Schoolcraft that come to campus as well as Washtenaw and Henry Ford that speak specifically about the Michigan grant. So we want to make sure that they're well informed that way. And also we'll do some workshops periodically throughout the day that specifically talk about the financial support that's there. Okay, I don't see any other questions at this point. I think I'll leave it at this. I hope that you've learned a great deal. I hope that it has not been too overwhelming. We know there's a lot of information there, but we know that we've also set up many times where we're making those connections. Through this meeting, we'll once again meet with our juniors in large groups. We meet with them individually and go over this. We make sure the communication is readily available to you, whether it's on the school's webpage or through students on the Canvas page. We want to make sure that you attend with us and see us again at the senior meetings in the fall. And we want to make sure that we connect with those seniors and walk them through the steps of how to create their Parchment account. Make sure that they know how to send and where to send their transcript. And again, go over that college application process. It is important to us to make sure that they are well prepared and are making the best decisions possible for them. And we know that it's continual communication. Kids always have the opportunity to make an appointment with us. So please know that as students are meeting with us one-on-one, and maybe over spring break, you go visit a couple of college campuses and more questions come out, encourage them, reach out, sign up for an appointment. All of us have our appointment calendars on our Canvas page so students can access them. They are, many times they're 15 to 20 minutes long, or they can sign up and come down during lunchtime if that helps them and supports them. But we want to make sure that they know they can still always come see us. It's not just that junior conference meeting. It's from now and through the time they get to graduation and beyond. We talk to a lot of our kids even after they graduate. I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank you if you're listening at a later time. Please encourage you and your son or daughter to look at the slides, maybe rewatch this video when you have another opportunity to kind of clear your mind, maybe get away from school, and maybe this summer sit down and watch it again to get an idea of what's coming up for senior year. But again, go through the links, learn more. The more you know, it's powerful, and we'll make great decisions for you. I thanks to my colleagues, Sarah and Heather and Mark from the other three buildings. And other than that, have a great night. Thanks so much, everybody.